dark, dystopian future, cyberpunk style, political espionage, assassination, hacking human brains. These are some of the main things I think of when I hear Ghost in the Shell. One of my favourite series of all time, with one of my favourite antagonists come neutrally blurred character, the Laughing Man. A sort of preemption of the modern Anonymous, just hacking real people rather than DDoSing websites. I don't particularly think free-to-play Nuxon game, but hey ho. Anyway, the wider feedback seems fairly negative, so if I go ahead with the positives, and I can cover the more talked about criticisms afterwards. Firstly, the IP is generally a good thing with this game. They've gone ahead and put a lot of the recognisable characters from the show, and if you've watched it at least once, you'll be able to pick it all out. From the operatives Major Kusanagi, Bato and Ishikawa, to the android females in the menu, and the mini-mechs, the Tachikomas, which feature in the game in one of the gameplay modes. The voice actors are all from the English dub, and it is actually an anime I watch the dubs with, which isn't usual for me. I usually watch in Japanese subs. Well, not Japanese subs, English subs with the Japanese language. So this really is a good thing, and the radio chatter is good, and will tango with your inner fanboy if you like Ghost in the Shell. I do feel that a good IP can really anchor your experience, rather than being a little lost with generic tropes turned heroes in other MOBA-esque sort of games like Dirty Bomb, League of Legends, Smite, you name it. Secondly, the game feels a lot like Dirty Bomb, just with cyberpunk themed abilities and the Ghost in the Shell IP tacked on. And this necessarily isn't a bad thing, I quite like Dirty Bomb. The characters do all have fairly interesting abilities, from thermal optic camos to explosive drones to overshields. The operatives do give you a variation of choice which changes the state of play. I like the idea that in capture mode, if you don't capture a point, an AI mech, the Tachikoma, spawns in your name and is an asset for your team and a hindrance for the enemy. It's just another objective. Thirdly, the general anesthetic and designs of things is fairly gritty. I like the fact you can blow someone's head off its socket to note it was actually part of a human part cyborg brain like the show. There's also some good modelling and detail going on in the maps. However, the texture quality is rubbish. It looks like an original Source game, and if you've played a mod called Neo Tokyo for Source, which is based roughly around Akira and Ghost in the Shell, it does look a bit better than this. Especially with the lighting, actually, if I think about it, which is a shame. Another downside is the odd weapon control. I'm finding it hard to get a feel for the weapons, really, and whilst it does seem beneficial to control and burst your fire, and to try and go for headshots, with a lot of my hip firing shots failing in game, and you'll see them, the hit registration does seem quite random. I have a lot of shots where I'm sure I've got headshots and missed, and people have hit me in the head when they look like they're spraying at my feet, so that's something that's an issue, but hopefully they can look into that. Also, whilst I do like the gameplay of capture mode and the CS type elimination where you wait for respawns with a bomb, basically, the size of the maps is extremely limiting. I find a lot of the maps really claustrophobic, they're very thin, and they're way too 2D, and need some more levels, like the insides of buildings, dynamic cover. It just doesn't quite work for me, the level design. And the CS type bomb elimination maps just don't feel right either. It's hard to be competitive when the capture points don't seem that well thought out. It's easy to grenade or bombard the whole area because it's usually quite small and there's not enough cover. I also do like the variation of the abilities, but I don't think they went far enough with the IP. The Tachikomas in the game are awesome because if you spot one, you can try and hack it. The person hacking it becomes visible to all enemies, and there's a big cat and mouse. I like this dynamic, and I wish they'd extended it further to hacking player turrets, players themselves, and things like that. The hacking element in Ghost of the Shell is one of the most interesting things. Furthermore, I'm at odds with the actual abilities implementation. It seems that if you're doing badly, you never really get to use your abilities as they'll always be on cooldown. But if you do well, you'll have them all the time, and on some classes you can even sync up and have two abilities, and it doesn't really seem that fair, and sort of lends itself to steamrolling. I'll also mention that whilst I like the use of the IP, there were some weird clips of the anime in the game to highlight game modes that don't even seem to be iconic scenes, and are so small it's really hard to show anything. It just doesn't look right, and I don't know why they've put them in there. Lastly, the game is free to play, but the operatives, apart from the first 3 gained in the early levels, will be locked. And some people see unlocks as progression, and it doesn't at the moment seem too hard to get the 200,000 points to unlock the operatives. You get 50,000 points in each level, or at least in the early levels. I still hate the fact that a big proportion of the game, which is the hero's abilities, and that's just the same with all MOBAs, it does annoy when they're locked a lot behind a paywall, because that's just basically the whole game. I'd rather pay a sum for the game. I mean, I've paid £4 for it, which is a start. Anywho, all that aside, I have had fun with the game and wouldn't ward people off it if it was free to play. I mean, it's a solid free to play game if there was one. It matches up to a lot of the other free to play games out there like Dirty Bomb. At the moment, it isn't free, and you're paying £4 for a game that is pretty much in beta and will be free to play later. Silly me, I suppose. To be honest, I see a lot of potential in going further with the franchise inspirationally, but I'm not holding my breath too much. Anyway, is anyone else playing? And does anyone else have an opinion of it? I'm also playing Squad at the moment, so might get something about that up soon. I love Project Reality, and spoilers, I love this game as well, but waiting for the vehicles ready to come out to play it properly, but I'll still give it a few more goes. And anyway, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, everybody, the Laughing Man.